this is my great-grandparents. These are my great-grandparents who you see, Joseph and Anna. I'll pass this around. Joseph was, yeah, we are adjusting ourselves because one thing says one year and one thing says another. So as I have my notes written here, they're going, yeah, but that's carved in stone. And I'm going, okay, I'm going to have to do the carved in stone thing. Joseph was born in 1873, Anna in 1875. Interesting little saga I'm going to read to you about their love life, or the courtship of their love life, and I'll get to that after I'm done with the rest of this. So, yeah, you might want to put it uphill so you don't tumble down hard rocks. Yeah. Joseph's sons were the founders of the bakery. That's where the roots lie. My grandpa Herman and his brother John, somewhere in this area. This is brother George. George was a bachelor guy. John's around here, John and Leon. Somewhere. John hasn't left, he's still here. So John and my grandpa started the, John actually started it with a Swede. He was a Swede from Sweden, John Gustafson, and he was a baker. So my great uncle John was in the Navy. They sent him to Dunwoody. He got his baking skills in Dunwoody, served at Ellis Island, came back, hooked up with John Gustafson, started the sweet shop. Okay, John Gustafson wanted to go back to Sweden, so my grandpa Herman bought him out and started along with his brother John in the sweet shop. Okay. A few years later, John spun off into another business. He owned a paint shop, which is down by Don Mackey's building down there, dry cleaners. He did that, and my grandpa was sole owner of the bakery. Original bakery was, I believe, and if I'm wrong here, I think it's the building where Don Mackey was. Yep. The actual working bakery where they baked. Okay. The store retail front of it was over in either Twyla Greffy's building where she is, or it's the one next to it. So they baked, and they put it on the big racks, down the alley, and into the other place, because the original bakery was not big enough for the retail part. So that's what they did. I'm going to back it up a little bit. They got a little bit of Schmidt bakery stuff there, but prior to that, the Schmidt brothers worked for Joe. Okay, he started a brick and block company in St. James, and it was located over where Collier Super is right now. Okay, he made block and brick, and a lot of the original buildings in St. James were from his block and brick company. The little house that was burnt down just a few weeks ago by the Northside Park, if you go over there now, if the foundation is still there, there's a huge big block. Now that's his trademark block. That's the Joseph Schmidt block. The Schmidt building downtown right next to the old First National Bank. If you look up at that says Schmidt, he built that. He also built the house where my mom and dad are still living right now. He built it for Emmett Ty and his wife. Okay, they lived there with their 3 children, and my mom and dad bought it then when Emmett and his wife sold to go to a home with 1 level. So my mom and dad are the second owners of that house that my great-grandpas put up. So he made the block and the brick for that. He also put up the Catholic Church in 1933 for $68,000.
Wow.
Okay, so he was the brick block construction sort of guy. They put up bridges, and his boys worked for him. Okay, when his boys were young, they worked for him. They never got paid. He bought them shoes. He fed them lunch, but they had to take turns cooking because they had a little trailer they brought with to construction site, and he paid for their clothes, but he didn't pay them. When they decided that they were interested in females and they needed money, they told him they weren't going to work for him anymore because he wasn't going to pay them. So then they all spun off and did different businesses. Okay, that's where the one went into the Navy, and that's where my grandpa spun off into retail and businesses, and that's what's been going in their world since.
Sidewalk too.
Port sidewalks, because we've got the stamp. We've got the Joseph Schmidt stamp that he used when he made stuff and put it in there. The bakery was started in 1923. But once again, I'll back it up. It's a sweet shop, then spun into bakery when my grandpa bought it from his brother John. 90 years coming up this next August, so we're hoping to have a big celebration. We had one when it was 75 years. So we're going to try to convince the bakers now, who my brother Tom and my cousin Joe, to allow us to put on a big old party. So we hope to have one of those in August for 90 years. It's family owned. Family owned. So there's not many family owned businesses left, and a pretty substantial part of St. James. The bakery as we know it right now moved into that building in the, I'm believing, mid to late 50s. Moved down from a block and a half down. In 1936, my grandpa, Herman, had the bakery. There was a huge big snowstorm. People in LaSalle, and it was apparently a bigger place, there was no groceries getting there because the trains were blocked and some of the roads were cleared. My grandpa, Herman, and a couple of buddies, this was the bakery truck, and they drove to LaSalle, and here he is, pulls up. Got most of the way to LaSalle with food and groceries and bread for the people in LaSalle. Ended up walking part of the way because they couldn't get any further. So there they are, standing on the snow hill, getting closer to LaSalle. They brought food to LaSalle. I thought that was pretty awesome. Here's a picture of my grandpa Herman in the bakery. That's the original bakery where in the Don Mackey building where he is now. That's the oven. Now, in the corner of this, there's this weird white machine with a wheel thing on it. I'm thinking that's the same bun rounder they use today.
Wow.
Seriously. It's just an awesome machine. You put the dough in there and it cuts it and it rounds it, so it makes the hot dog buns. It takes it and flattens it out and they roll, and then you capture them and put them on pans. It's pretty primitive, but it works. Here is the picture of the Schmidt brothers, okay, and on the back, Joe, Andrew, George, and John. Original Schmidt brothers. Town. The house that they're standing in front of is the big blue house across from Dr. Parsons on 2nd Avenue, 400 block. It's really not so nice to look at right now, but that's the house that my grandpa Joe built for his family. And the block that's there is the original block that he made in his factory. The house was in the family till probably the late 70s, early 80s, when then my great aunt Rose died. And then it was purchased and rented at that point, and then it just deteriorated. Beautiful home at that time when it was. Had a lot of fantastic built-ins. There was a residence downstairs, and then a downstairs apartment on one side and an upstairs apartment on the other side, and it was great. I remember going there just a few times when Rose was in the house. I don't remember Joseph and Anna. Anyway, they were married. There's their birth dates. They were married in 1895. Let's see, what else do I need to tell you here? Mom wrote a whole bunch of stuff down, and let me just quick scan it to see what I didn't have. I'm going to read a little story very shortly here. My grandpa Joel paid. Everybody knows Bernard Zeidler. He's in the nursing home right now. Okay. My grandpa paid for his dad. He sponsored his dad to come to the United States. So my grandpa Joe, great grandpa Joe, paid for Bernard's dad to come to the United States. So that's kind of what they did. Relatives over in Austria. So that's what he did. Above the now bakery we have right now used to be businesses, and there was a business up there and they made cigars. Above, they weren't apartments, and the now existing apartments, above most buildings were businesses, tons of businesses, and also below most businesses, as you see, like over in Jepson's area, and over underneath, say, the Stray Cat building, those downstairs, those aren't apartments, those are businesses. This city was packed with businesses forever ago, and so it's all very important. There was a friend of my great-grandpa's. His name was Oscar Deerstead, and he was in business with him in the block business, and apparently they both had very funny personalities, as we're discovering. We found this book and we were going through pictures that my aunt had of the big family pictures that we had never seen. And we found this, and here's the saga of Joe and Anna, and it was from their golden anniversary in 1945. And this Oscar Deerstead was a partner of my grandpa in his block and brick business, so he knew him for a long time. All right, some interesting things in here, and I'll read this to you. And he was a very good, he was a beautiful writer, beautiful. How well I can remember Joe when he went to school in the old country. So they knew each other before they came to America. He was a mischievous lad and sometimes would play pranks on his playmates. Being that he was big and strong, he dominated his class. One thing Joe was blessed with was a good understanding. His feet were exceptionally large. That's why he became such a good bridge builder. He believed in solid foundations. He had a hard time finding shoes that would fit him, but finally found a shoemaker who had enough leather, and he made Joe a pair so large that Joe had to wear 6 pairs of socks in order to fill the shoes, and so his feet would not turn around those boots. He finally became tired of shoe limitations in the old country and decided to emigrate to America, a land that was always a mecca for Europeans. In America, he didn't only find shoes big enough to fit him, he also found an outlet for his energies, and then he discovered Anna, a story that's all by itself. Joe left some heartbroken Annas in the old country, so of course, a maiden by the name in the New World found a tender spot in his heart. In due course of time, he had met the comely prairie maiden, and he had made up his mind to make the conquest. So he set out to do with full determination, which was marked with all of his undertakings. But the conquest of Anna was not so easy an undertaking as Joe thought it would be, and being he was a newcomer there, they were admirers in the field for Anna's hand. The progress was slow. She in turn used her girlish charm in such a manner as to keep all of them in suspense. Now Joe had to figure out ways and means to get rid of those other fellows, so he resorted to a plan of strategy resembling old world diplomacy. He knew that offensive odors from his rivals would help him in clearing the field to his heart's desire. So in order to get in the lead, he developed the idea of planting a hunk of Limburger cheese in the pockets of his rivals. Among Joe's accomplishments or hobbies was his ability as a musician. Joe became quite proficient as a tutor of the bass horn, which is awesome because my dad played the bass horn. And my dad was in city band until I was probably junior high. And the city band went from community to community, but New Ulm and I don't know. We always went out and my dad played the tuba. It was so cool. I had no idea. My great-grandpa did that too. Joe became quite proficient in the tutor of the bass horn. And this bass horn, as far as Joe was concerned, consisted of only 2 parts, the big snaky or major part and the mouthpiece, which Joe called the little horn. So when Joe put the 2 together and played solos for Anna, neither ear nor heart could withstand such an appeal, and that's how he conquered her. Who knows, it could be some exaggeration, but yeah, I don't know. One thing that bothered Joe and Anna was the relationship to each other. Now, follow me on this one. This is news to me as of 2 days ago. Being that Joe's mother married Anna's father. This marriage took place after Joe and Anna had gotten married. Joe's mother being not only Anna's mother-in-law, but also her stepmother, and Anna's father being a father-in-law and a stepfather too. Sounds like banjos and chairs on a porch. I don't know. Making it appear as though they were the subjects of a story as brother and sister. Aside of being teased occasionally about the relationship and their hurry about getting married in the middle of the winter, their union has been duly blessed, and it is therefore we, their friends and neighbors, in reunion with their children, pay homage to this worthy couple who today celebrate their golden anniversary. Joseph was born in Austria in May 73, 74. I think apparently when they get it in stone, it's there. Who with his mother and 3 brothers came to Minnesota in the year of 1894 and settled in Butterfield. After a short period, they came to St. James, where he followed the trade of masonry, which is what he did in the old country, which he continued until 1942. Anna Posh was born at a farm in St. James Township in 1875. So 6 here. The daughter of Anna and Joe Posh, which is what you heard down there. She spent her girlhood in the same community. Anna and Joe were married in the St. James Catholic Church by Reverend Father Deerwood, February 19, 1895. Andrew Schmidt, Joe's brother, and Catherine Spitzner, which was there since you haven't been there. Okay? Were the attendants, and both parties were with them today at their 50th anniversary. Okay, children. I mentioned some of them, but we'll go through it again. John, who was our Ellis Island, okay, married Leon Claris. Claris family started the Dr. Pepper Bottling Company in St. James. So there's business, right? Mr. and Mrs. Herman, okay, and my grandma, that's my grandpa and grandma, and she was Margaret Leonard. Oh yeah, here she is. A little while later, and this picture was taken of my grandma, Margaret Leonard Schmidt, in the Hinchin Pharmacy, which is located, I believe, the Chamber Building.
Chamber Building.
Yep. Right next building. To the bank. Yeah.
So Hinchin's, which is the Hinchin's of Levon Hinchin's
father-in-law.
There you go. Okay. Okay.
Grandfather-in-law.
Grandfather-in-law? Okay.
Lyle's dad started.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, so then there was Rose, and she married a Benson, and Rose lived in the Schmidt house, and that's what I remember living there. Really good fun. She was great fun. And then Lucille, who was really great fun too, and she married a Henderson, and then married Chuck Gassment, who was the founder of Mason City Tent and Awning down in Mason City, Iowa. And George, who had the R Tavern, which is across from Yurchek's office. Okay? And I remember going in there, and that was good. When Lucille, his sister, would come down, she'd pick us, all the Schmidt kids up, and we'd go up and we'd have orange pop and peanuts in the shell, and we'd sit there in the afternoon, and George and Lucille would have a couple beers. So it was just great fun. George never married, dated Gertie Olson for 25 years. Engaged for 25 years. And Gertie worked for John Ness forever, because I would go with Pam to the office to see her dad, and there's little Gertie, very prim and proper. And my Uncle George was a great big guy, kind of pretty quiet also, but they engaged for 25 years and broke it off for religious reasons. Oh. After 25 years, neither of them ever married. So, what did I miss?
Fascinating.
Anything?
Yes, and all the connections. It's just great.
We had this box of pictures that we were able to get to. When my grandpa and grandma died, my dad's sister, Margaret Ann Geezer, had the box of family pictures. She said, let's just take them to my house, come over sometime, we'll look at them. Well, of course, that's been a long time. And so when Mom started talking about doing this, and I went, there's pictures somewhere, right? Yep, that's where they are. So I went over there and got the pictures, and we started digging into them, and we found my dad's baby book, which we didn't know even existed, and we found all of these incredible pictures, and now we're in process of labeling those and scanning them into the computer, and so we're gonna have those available for all the family, and we're gonna actually know who they are, because my mom is still very good about identifying as much as she can. My Uncle Brad's still got a very sharp mind too, so we think we're gonna be able to pinpoint all of those people in those pictures. And it was so fun. There are pictures of like my grandpa and grandma when they were dating. Oh, how sweet. Just the cutest thing ever. And pictures of them when they were babies. And the Leonard family lived in St. James too. So my grandma Margaret Leonard Schmidt, her dad worked in the railroad. And we found all of these pictures of this businessman, this office of businessmen, and it's railroad pictures. So that's pretty cool. They lived on the north side of town, in the area where the J.C. Park is. in the Teeters Flat area right over there. He actually owned the Teeters Flat building when it was awesome.
Yeah.
Until
Which
it
it
was
wasn't
sold.
when we were little.
Until it was sold, and then once it's turned into rentals where people just suck the rent out and never really care about what happens, then the deterioration begins and eventually the fire takes over. So, yeah.